This is Good Morning Uganda.
In your day with us here on Good Morning Uganda. Now today being the 23rd day of July 2021 also means it is Friday, and guess what? Every Friday we do come to give you something pompous. If I want to use the language I used to use in campus, I would say the bombastic Friday. I must say, well, we do come to give you something that does make ushering you into your weekend. Now today morning in a special way we did do a little bit of classics, and by the word classics you definitely have to add old time classics. It's what I hope you enjoy yourselves now. I'm joined by my friends, my colleagues, my partners in crime, that is Robert and Priscilla.
Wait,
and
what crimes have we committed? I need to know, because
never mind, everyone is a potential prisoner. It's just time.
Oh, it's just time. Okay, this is a bit where I delete myself from this picture.
The potentiality of being a good morning, Priscilla.
Good morning to you,
How
Felix.
are you?
I'm okay. You mentioned something. In your days, you'd call the parties what?
Bombastic.
Bombastic. Wow. And there's like bombastic. In my days, we used to call them fly. Yeah, yeah, fly, right? Yes. So that's how interesting it was. But good morning to Uganda. Thank you so much for joining us for Special Friday yet again. Another edition where we get to usher you into the weekend. And today is a special day in one way or another that we will be talking about. But Kirabo, how are you?
I'm very fine. You know, when Felix talked about classics, and there's this song that opened up, Ule, you know, that is one of the songs I enjoy so much. So as you guys were still in the intro, I still enjoy Ule. Anyway, so we always make sure we spice up your weekend. I know these are some of the songs that you could be missing right now, but the good thing is Special Friday is here. We have an artist who will be joining us. The music is just that, to spice up your weekend. And also as we gear up for the Olympics, I think they're starting today.
Today. Drum roll today.
And we're having one that will be hitting the track.
Yeah, we'll be having the schedule shared in our sports update with Ruben Tima Chivirango. Yeah.
But also very interesting, Priscilla told me today is World Mosquito Day. Mosquito Day. And actually one of the #1 killers of Ugandans is malaria, caused by a mosquito. So this day...
Which mosquito is this?
A female Anopheles mosquito.
He passed Piero.
That is the one.
Where the mosquitoes stay?
Felix, where the mosquitoes? Stagnant water, dark places.
That's what? Those are cockroaches.
Thick.
Thick
Now an
bushes.
African, these are things that keep on feeding on you every night. These are things that keep on feeding on you every night. But also on a sad note, by the way, we sympathize and pray for our brothers in Kamocha. That is Chemyuka zone. Yesterday around 7 p.m. fire gutted that place, property worth millions, and by time police came in, they gave us report that at least 2 people are feared dead in this fire. So we pray for our ghetto brothers and sisters there. Because much as police tried to rescue the place, but because of the structure of a ghetto, they couldn't easily access the place. And it is believed that sparked electricity when there was a spark on one of the lines, high voltage, caught a wooden structure, then went to the makeshifts, and you could hardly access ghetto, as we know, the construction of their houses there. So we pray for them, sympathize with them. Property worth billions has been lost.
I don't know, with due respect, I hope I'm not
I
misquoted.
hope you're not going to say what I think you're going to say. But please, let's see.
But me, I'm ready to.
So Friday is a good day. I can tell you, it's a good day. Previously, it's a day where we used to gear up for the long weekend. Most people who work Monday to Friday, like some of us, will be more excited when it gets to Friday.
Spend a
Maybe just to let me just ask Robert, what were you doing on Fridays then that you miss? Or what do you miss about ushering yourself into the weekend before lockdown?
First, I miss my present, having a good time with God, because normally every Friday I would spend that night. Yes, like you asked me, Felix. Yes, you asked me at Prayer Palace Chibuye. If you wanted me on a Friday night, you would simply go to Prayer Palace Chibuye, where I would have overnight prayers every Friday.
Until
and I would be there. So that is one thing that I miss. You know, having at night, the environment is so calm, you know.
We
have good
overcame
time.
it all by the grace
Then,
of God and forgiveness.
Also, I would miss a
I
Friday,
tell
you know,
you.
work is done. So I'd catch up with a few friends because they're also done. So you catch up and have some sitting around discussing issues of national importance. Yes.
Wow. The
So,
committee.
so the issues of you know, you'll be a cause of my guest, but I don't know why. Priscilla, Fridays, previous sort of like before COVID-19, how would you be planning for your weekend?
So previously, on a Friday, the one thing that I've been looking forward to, first of all, the music that goes around for the nature work that I do. And then the other thing that I used to look forward to is lunchtime, because we used to buy food and then we would share it communally.
So what?
We would buy food, and then we share it communally in office. Yeah, we would always
Some
look
people
forward
are
to
missing
that.
food.
Yes.
No, for me, I
Food
was sure
is-
Priscilla
food
could
is
not
life.
leave the aspect of food, and I whispered that.
Now I see why on Friday.
She's the
Yes.
first person who taught me
You
to
get
buy
it?
food
Why I'm
online.
always
So,
the first on the line. Say it. It's a public secret.
It ceases.
can
But
food be a
anyway,
hobby?
Huh?
Can be a hobby. Eating.
Yes,
Can be a hobby.
So does eating shape determine the shape of one's lips?
They are going to see the shape of.
Oh,
Priscilla, you're not very far from me.
Let's start
You're
there
not
and
very
we
far
can-
from me.
We shall end up there. But anyway,
Yeah, food tells the shape
so
for
much
us.
actually it says so much about how we look. Nevertheless, if my Fridays, I would definitely be geared up because I used to do lots of teaching on weekends.
Oh.
So I'll be preparing. I'll be preparing. You know how things are handled and all these kind of things. But I love my students. So I'll be excited to meet them because they give you different experiences, what they go through.
I love it
It's
when a
quite
lecturer
interesting.
says I love my
But definitely, I would end the nights with some good chill. Yeah, some good chill. That's what I'm talking about. But of course, it's 7 days to the end of the 42 days. I must also say, yesterday, painfully, yesterday, they said we recorded the highest number of deaths. I don't know how true that is, but it was all over social media that yesterday we still recorded a number of deaths. That's quite worrying. And they were all over saying that we had, well, of course, a couple of things if you start to think about them, that where are we heading when you look at how many people have been vaccinated so far, because that's one of the determinants of how we will sort of like be treated in the aftermath of 42 days, and how are the people reacting to the SOPs, and probably also what's the rate? Is the rate going down or shooting up? But I know for a fact that human nature has never been extinct. World War was there, Second World War, what? Human nature will never be extinct, only by the decision of God. Now I can tell you, this COVID will be a story we shall tell, and that's coming soon.
But of course, Felix,
I
I love
know
that
that
human
very
nature has never been extinct, but we always tell that could not be part of the statistics.
It does it, Robert.
Sure,
you
you're
know,
there to tell the
that's-
story.
That's not for us to decide. I can be
Sure.
honest with you. I'll be really honest and truly. All we have to do is do what we can do. We can only do so much when it comes to how we stay alive. We can try. Everyone is trying, Robert. There's
I mean,
no
you
one who
will wear
except.
your seatbelt, drive at a good speed,
But
and then
someone else
still
will
an accident will happen.
So
and you'll be a
we just
victim.
have to do the things we can do in our own assessment and position.
Yeah.
That's all we can do. For example, imagine what can you do about not having oxygen in hospitals if you're sick?
Nothing. No,
But there's something
even
you
if
can
you had
do
the money,
about-
like
That's the thing.
the process of getting it, and you know, even when you speak about oxygen, the fact that it's been freely given, and now people have to pay for it, and in hospitals you pay to to fill the cylinder, and then you pay for that cylinder to be put on you, you know, and it's
And
it's
that
quite
alone
sad.
doesn't determine you'll survive. That's not the end in it. Because if that was a guarantee, probably then everyone should be keeping it. So
Yeah, we can
I think at this point, it's for us also to reflect on how beautiful life can be. Let us try to do the things we love to do. As I've always said, Like yesterday I said, let us do the things that will give us maybe memories to hold on to. I talked about music yesterday as one of the therapies. That's why today morning, it's good to wake up to some good vibes of Good Morning Uganda Friday special edition. But speaking about good vibes, again, please do follow us on our social media platforms. That is on Facebook, Twitter, and catch us also live on YouTube. You can rewind, forward, pause. Wow. Let me just ask one question, and I had really tried to skip this, but let me just ask it for you, the two of you, maybe myself also later. I'll answer.
But usually I do that to us. Felix, if you're going to ask, answer as well.
I can't ask and I'll be the first to answer. Okay, I will answer if you ask me the same
We will
question.
also answer then.
Good. Now, many a times we lie. Robert, have you ever lied?
Definitely.
Wow.
Have
I love that. I love the fact that.
No, you know, I told you I'm
Okay.
realistic, and I always, anything that is real, you'll find me, and I'll be very open with you.
Yeah, one of my friends.
As long as it's not my partner asking, that is where
So,
certain things I
want
don't.
to ask, people who lie are called what?
Liars.
Are you a liar?
They're habitual liars, and they're.
Why? What is that one lie you've ever told and you regret it?
My wife is watching, so
Was it to her?
yeah, forgive me for that. But my wife is watching.
Okay, all right. Let me just give you an example of a life. So when I was a child, it was a Saturday, remember? My dad was in his bedroom chilling, you know, doing his stuff. Then he receives a phone call. And in the phone call, he assures that person that he's at the office. And that person should hurry up and come. But the man was in his bedroom. I was so perplexed of, Daddy, seriously?
Office.
Office. Like,
That was his office, like.
at that time. Okay, all right. Yeah, but I to this day, I always remember it, and I'm amused. Yeah.
But there's also one lie I grew up, and I found, you know that, I don't know now, but when we were growing up, when the big person has gone to that secret place, to ease and what,
Number two.
you don't mention.
You should have known where my
So
secret place
when
was.
they ask you, where is daddy, where is mommy, should you ever mention that he or she has
I
gone?
didn't mind you.
Felix. So you always had to lie.
I don't think a kid comes and says, why didn't I didn't mind you.
So that is something I grew up knowing, but it was a lie because actually you know where the person is, but you cannot mention where the person is. But you actually know.
Let me just tell you my story. Now, my granny, the late Mr. Roa, may you rest in peace, he used to send us for, there's a place we used to call Executive in Raga there, where the old people, they used to sit and take some brewery, you know, tonto. So they just sent us for this, I don't know how to say tonto in English. But
because it is not there, so simply
tonto, but
local
the young one, tonto mto.
And the small one in packaging?
No, like omuto. Yes, it was so sweet. Now, they would ngabakua like ndeku to go and bring. Now, every time they used to give you to go to the executive, you would come sipping because it was so sweet. Now, there's a time I oversipped without noticing and the thing got done.
Oh, wow.
And I was almost I'm getting home. And I was like, now I had to fight because the guy had waited. Water? No. I had to go back to the lady.
Your parents.
In fact, this one is called Ziwa. I had to go back and tell Ziwa. No. Tell the guy, Jaja Gambia, Guarida and Guomie. Guomie Mungere Musenta Naziwelets. So they put, I took. The rest, I don't know who paid. I don't know if they asked.
So that's tonto womoto. Wouldn't it like
definitely
kick
of
you
course,
off?
After handing the thing to me, I just went to bed. That tonto muto for you are watching, you know, it's really sweet. It has so sweet. Oh my!
And
I
you just
wish I could find it now.
Felix speaks, and you see that even he feels he could.
So sweet.
What is that they sell around Kabaka and Jagara?
Yes.
That is the thing.
Yes, Kukawaka and Jagara. The one in food they sell tonto there. Yeah, it's really sweet. Some of you should try that recipe of I don't know how they call young Tonto. Tonto.
Let's look.
Young Tonto. Felix.
And pregnant women enjoy. That's how I got to know that place. Someone used to send me, go and get me.
Tonto. It's really nice.
Clearly.
And when you don't get it, what we used to do, we used to get like the kuru, then we put sugar. It would just be sweet.
Clearly, I need to really evacuate myself from this picture. I have no idea about young Tonto. I have no idea what's happening inside.
Yeah.
But I do know that we have to look at stories that have taken place in the last 24 hours. A recap of the stories here on Good Morning Uganda.
And we'll begin with the happenings in Parliament, where all is set to ensure that by Monday next week, we have a person who represents the left, that is Matthias, the former NRM legislator at the East African, that is Assembly, and now the National Resistance Movement Party has expressed readiness to retain the parliamentary slot for East African Legislative Assembly in the coming by-elections. This follows the death of Matthias Kasamba, who represented Uganda in the regional parliament since 2017. Government Chief Whip Thomas Tayebwa said the slot belonged to the ruling party, warning against any members intending to run as independents. In her remarks on Thursday afternoon's parliamentary sitting, Deputy Speaker of Parliament Anita indicated that the House would hold by-elections for East African legislator who passed on Matthias Kasamba to ensure they have a replacement. This communication attracted this kind of response from woman member of Parliament of Namisingwa district, Sarah Kaiji. Kaiji's argument was on grounds that the deceased Yala MP Matthias Kasamba belonged to the ruling National Resistance Movement. This prompted Deputy Speaker to cite provisions in the East African Community Treaty. NRM parliamentary deputy, this prompted the Deputy Speaker to ensure that they go through the laws that properly indicate who should represent the country at such a time should one of the NRM have passed on. The other parliamentary slot for Uganda fell vacant following Matthias Kasamba's death, and elections are due on Monday next week.
Away from that, police mounted an operation to push out city dwellers and vendors who had made a comeback move to occupy the downtown streets. Police asserts that the attempted return of vendors and street dwellers is in contravention of the presidential directives in the fight against the spread of COVID-19 pandemic. The operation started at City Square, spread to Arua Park, Chiseka Business Center, combing areas of Mini Price and Chisenyi. However, through all these hotspots where vendors and street dwellers had converted for normal business transactions, police engaged in scuffles with those who had opened shops and the dwellers. In fierce engagements, police also conducted arrests of those who attempted to resist. Many of the people operating saloons here at Grand Corner House claim they are among the vulnerable persons that were meant to benefit from the COVID-19 relief fund package of government, but they have never received even a penny from contracted telecom companies to handle their transaction.
Well, those running battles have been around since the 42 days were declared. Every day we see police and enforcement taking on those city dwellers. Away from that, we look at Professor Patrick Ogwang, the proprietor and manufacturer of Uganda's popular herbal supportive treatment towards COVID-19, made a donation to the people of Kamocha, a Kampala suburb. The donation is part of Jenna's first corporate social responsibility to communities. Speaking in an interview shortly after the donations, Professor Ogwang said giving back to the community is godly and a godly gesture that every Christian has to do for the unprivileged members of society. He donated items that included 15 tons of maize, beans and soap, among others. Reverend Nandaula of St. John's Church Kamocha, who received the assorted items on behalf of the community, thanked Professor Ogwang, saying more help is needed since many of the people in Kamocha, despite being vulnerable, never received the cash relief fund that they were expecting on their mobile phones.
briefly look also at international stories that a major focus will be on Cuba, where we'll be looking at just the beginning. US comes out to impose more sanctions on the that is on Cuba. And the United States come out to impose sanctions on senior Cuban security officials and the Interior Ministry brigade following the crackdown on anti-government protests earlier this month. Now, the US Treasury Department announced this on Thursday. Of course, the move comes out to mark the first concrete steps by the President Joe Biden's administration to apply pressure on Cuban government as the United States faces calls from the US lawmakers and the Cuban American community to show greater support to the protesters. Now, this is just the beginning. Biden said in a statement, the United States will continue to sanction individuals responsible for oppression of the Cuban people. Now, equivocally condemn the mass of detention and sham trials that are unjustly sentencing to prisons the people who are in dire need of change and have come out to speak against the bad governance and rulership in Cuba. Well, clearly so much stories there, but also another story is about the Tiger region in Ethiopia, here in Africa, still mass deaths of people in South Africa as well, but also looking at what's happening in Germany with the floods and China. That is very much is what you'll be getting as we go along in our production on Friday. Now, do not forget again to follow us on our social media platforms, that is on Facebook, Twitter, but also you can catch us live on YouTube. Now, we'll give the honor to the man who knows how to introduce people.
I would like to introduce. You
really?
Yeah, I have a very nice introduction.
Okay, I will give the honor to the Afande to introduce the junior.
The senior is away from church.
Okay, I can't wait to hear the introduction.
Oh, trust me, you're going to enjoy this one.
Beautiful lady next to me,
yes.
And please.
Can you keep quiet?
Okay.
Thank you very much. So here on Good Morning Uganda, we are privileged to have young Tonto, aka Felix Nkunda. Felix Nkunda has gotten himself a young Tontoress called Isabella UG.
Yes.
Hi Isabel.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay.
Yes.
So you can take it from there.
Okay. Okay. Hi Isabel.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
You look awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It's good to have you.
It's good to be here.
Where have you been?
I have been being in lockdown like the rest of Uganda.
Who unlocked you? Good morning, Uganda. It is really indeed good to have you. We're really very delighted. Yeah. So you woke up at what time?
Priscilla told me 4:30, but it's a good change.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
It's a
When
good
was the
change.
last time you woke up around
Around that time, like a really long time ago. I've been
Were you
home
still
with
in
my
school?
son, so no work, just
No,
my son.
it's focusing on
4:30.
him.
Yeah.
What time do you guys wake up?
Usually about 6:30. That's when he starts crying and waking up. So 4:30 was a welcome change. Yeah.
4:30 is good.
As long as I don't have to do it again. I don't know how you guys do it every day.
Trust me, story of our lives. Story of our lives. But anyway, you're welcome. You do music.
Yes, I do.
What's music to you?
Music is a way of being. It's something I always say. Like growing up as a child, as a teen, finding that voice, understanding the world, music was that tool for me. Yeah.
Kirabo, what is music to you? As is, you know, he's also a musician.
Really?
Yeah.
Good to
Isabella,
know.
let me be very honest with you. If it comes to singing, I have a good voice.
Okay.
But then I am not a musician, I'm not
the
an
one who tells
artist.
the lie is a what?
I'm not an, no, if it comes,
Habitual.
let me tell you, if it's about singing, I know if I chose to go that, but I have no talent at all. I just have the voice, but not the talent.
Voice is talent, voice is skill.
No, but I don't have the art of putting things together.
So Raga Kirabo there, maybe does raga and reggae. Doesn't it look like reggae and raga?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I can take it, yeah.
Me,
You can take him on.
I can take it, like that he does.
It can pass.
so that is a gift in me that I'm waiting for the Lord to give
lead
me,
you.
to lead me into that direction. But as of now, I'll remain in preaching and winning souls to Christ.
Amen.
So I just want to know what inspired you to go into this music industry.
Honestly, I think the human need to be heard. I come from a musical family.
Okay.
So it's not something that I woke up as a child saying, when I grow up, I want to be an artist and I want to, you know, do all this stuff. No.
So there's daddy in the bathroom saying, oh, and mommy is the kid saying, la, la, la. And there's Isabella
harmony,
somewhere in the
this one
chair.
is in this key, my brother.
And the house has speakers in every room.
You know, literally, yes. Like,
So.
there's actually a battle to play music first on a speaker. But anyway,
Okay.
for me, how it began is just in 2016. I was like, I write these songs, I sing, I play. How about I share this with people? So for me, the need to be heard, to share with people. What if I'm going through this and someone else is going through it? Can't I share this? That's what got me to sharing as an artist.
There's something I like you said, writing. So if I wrote a song, because I may not be able to sing and make sense, but I could be able to write.
Yes.
So if I wrote a very good song, because I think I could have the talent, so can you make sense out of it and bring out good music?
No.
Every day. No, seriously, every day there are people.
Yeah, you don't know Kirabo
even
is
some
everywhere.
of the biggest industries in the world whose sole jobs are just songwriters. They can't produce a single note, but as long as they can transcribe the melody.
They're talented
Can
in
we
writing.
have a challenge to this one?
A challenge.
Yeah, Kirabo, can you write a song within this time so that by her last performance she can be able to make music out of it?
That sounds like a fun challenge. Yeah?
Right? Yes, yeah. So that we see writing
So
skills here.
Kirabo, let me tell my guys, Kirabo, what would be the inspiration?
The lockdown. Because why, Felix?
Okay.
You know, I was home. And this is really.
Even starting to stand like
I'm
an artist,
just telling
Kirabo,
you
what is
what
wrong?
is what
You
inspired.
write it down. Why? You write it
I'm
down.
telling you why it's going to be about the lockdown. When the president mentioned 42 days, everyone watching, maybe they thought, how are we going to make it through?
Yeah.
But look how far we've come.
So Kirabo, your song would be, I don't know,
You're
again.
preempting here.
No, we need to give.
Because
pick
you're
the
helping
vibes.
him. Oh, anyway, you're a teacher, so I
And
get
the
to
songwriter,
understand.
she's the artist. I don't know where the producer is going
Team
to.
effort. You can start a record label here right now.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
But anyway, we will have to take a break, but we can't wait to listen to the beautiful vibes of Isabel when we come back after this break. And of course, we will be having another conversation with her, probably in our newsreel, something that we'll be discussing. As Kirabo says, a matter of national concern, importance. So let's take a break. When we come back, we'll be listening to Isabel's music, but also later on, we'll be having a discussion into what's happening in this beautiful country.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. BC, brought to you by
Their job is to keep you and me healthy and well. But sometimes they try in vain.
was brought to you by
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You'll also get MTN entry points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
Ekya COVID-19 kijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field couldn't be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
I'm so happy.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Hi everyone, my name is Isabel UG and this is a song of my debut album, Little Grown Up Child. Now I find the older I get, I am loathing the sight of grown-up self. I find cancers in my soul's essence. I can't explain this to myself, but I wonder, how did I even begin to become all I've done and all I am? Defeat all I was I ever innocent? Oh child, did you die? Did I end you with what I am? Oh child, I know you tried to save me from myself. I'm sorry I failed us. My life now is overcome by a hunger, a sabotage to all I am. Is there nothing of you that I can be? Is there nothing of you, child, that's left in me? Oh, child.
child, do you hide? Do you fear the sight of yourself? Oh child, I know you tried to save me from ourselves. I'm sorry I failed us. I failed us, I failed us. Is there redemption for the sinners like us? Are the saints the ones that always break free? What made us the way we seem to be? What can help us help what we've seen? Oh child, do you hide? Do you fear the sight of yourself? Oh child, I know you tried to save me from ourselves. I'm sorry, I failed us, oh little child. The next song is one called Stranger, and it's simply about the experience of struggling with relating to people in friendships, in relationships, just feeling too different from people and wondering if people will accept you for you. It's also off my debut album, Little Grown Up Child. When I get a good look at you, all I see is shape
You can't give you much than that. Sometimes it's quite a mouth feeling. I don't know what that is. It's supposed to be an idiom in English. I don't know what that means, but it's supposed to be something that you can't hold in your mouth. Like what? What makes sparkles in someone's mouth? What's something? No way.
I've heard of this theory that if two lovebirds are having an argument, one of the ways of controlling yourself from taking the argument any further, you put water in your mouth.
So you don't say anything.
So you don't say anything.
But there you'll be boiling with the water. In fact, by the time you spit that water, it will be hot. Okay, that's the difference. But anyway, Isabel did do some nice, beautiful performances. I can't wait for her to come here and tell us about the songs. First one was Child, the second was Stranger, at least I remember clearly. But all these songs will just take you away. Well, but of course, it is Good Morning Uganda Friday special edition. Now, remember, we do these productions to give you a different feel of the normal, or to also help usher you into your weekend. Now, the expectation is that all of you guys are enjoying your Fridays, even if it is lockdown. We're trying to unlock you this weekend, but also counting on the fact that we're 7 days away from easing this lockdown, and clearly we expect and we pray that no one gets COVID within these 7 days. Please don't die. We're praying for you, no one to die who has COVID, because that in its own self will be very, very problematic.
You know, you reminded me of the first lockdown we had, and in a way, after the complete lockdown, then they started partially opening up, different elements and different groups. It wasn't all at once.
Yeah.
So what if we go through the same phase this time round? They said, no, now taxi drivers, you can operate up to 4 o'clock. Okay. The rest of you, you're still in lockdown.
So what we can do right now here in Good Morning Uganda, I don't know, we can give everyone a chance to make a prediction of what will be eased. What's the expectation? And I'll start with Isabel Uganda. Thank you so much for the performance, I must say. That was breathtaking. And is it supposed to be a good thing when it's breathtaking?
Yeah,
someone
usually when breath leaves your body.
I'm thinking someone can die. Like it takes your breath away, and then the next thing you're
passing out.
CPR. We shall do CPR.
But then Priscilla normally says it was jaw dropping.
Jaw dropping, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
It was really nice. So before we even get into other discussions, what do you think, what would you want to be eased first when the president says therefore?
Movement. Like, it's so constraining having the anxiety that if you go out with your car, you'll be stopped. Yet during lockdown, all you're expected to do is stay in your house. If you walk, it's not a very long distance. So just the freedom to go somewhere else, and I don't know.
So all you want when he says therefore, the next statement should be private cars allowed to move with at least 2 people, 3 people, including the driver.
You see what happened last time is you hope, and you have high expectations, and then it says further 42 days.
Actually, for this was
21 days.
The trick was in 21 days.
The cycle of 21 days.
Now we have learned to just hope for little.
Yeah. So I know, but anyway, Robert, what would you want to be open first in your?
Just like you said, to be honest, that is movement. Because even sometimes I think the law enforcers,
but movement is
sense of judgment sometimes has not been that very perfect. We've seen people who really need to move. And because
like
of this
Isabel, the other one, Isabel, you're over shaking your head. You make it look like you're part of people who really need to move.
Felix, by the way, we've had a very trying moments. Yesterday I witnessed a very catchy moment. I had to intervene.
So many things.
This is a guy who had an accident. He was on clashes, so he had a review, but I think he had misplaced the note. But you could see really. And they're stopping the young man. Temnaje Mulaga, he's in pain. I saw people gathering around until I said, I had to pick a phone call and call one senior person to speak to this person. And the young man was let to go. So for me, why it's movement, apart from my sister, I don't know, maybe she wants to move, home also there's that bottom. but the people that really must move.
So Kirabo. Okay. Priscilla.
Mine is going to be very, very strange, but if they can allow cinemas to be open, yeah.
What?
There are cool movies that are coming out this year, and you can. No, you have to watch it in 3D. The cinema effects, the Adobe sound effects, you cannot even buy that.
No, I watched the trailer for Dune yesterday, and I was like, how are we not going to watch this in the
You
cinema?
get it? Yeah, so we cannot miss out on the. First of all, those movies were meant to be.
Swimming in Akadiba and all that. Felix, when did you last watch, or when did you first watch a movie in a cinema? Not this Vivanda.
No. Actually, I watched. You know, I still up to date think it's not a big. It's not my. I'll be honest. It's not my thing. Even when someone took me to a cinema, and apparently I was even not in this country, I still got bored. I didn't just ever find a reason.
Did you enjoy the popcorn?
Eating is eating, even if I'm having popcorn is popcorn wherever you're having it.
And the environment.
You know, and actually, honestly, because I enjoy translated movies, and that I can't get in cinemas. I enjoy Junior, I enjoy Jingo, I enjoy GVJ Maka, I enjoy ISP.
This is a call out to you. You guys need to start a cinema.
No,
yeah.
Cineplex, I tried it with Junior when it was still at Garden City.
Are you serious?
Yeah, man, and I used to go.
Now, my first experience with Enjogerere, I slept. Really?
Who was the
because would you sleep? No, you know,
Unless
first of
it was
all,
a series.
ideally, now for me, I'm a movie lover, so ideally, I have watched this movie already, and then the interpreted version, like, no, you guys, you're lying.
You don't know what you're missing. Have you watched the interpreted movie?
Yes, I really like the excitement. I was watching Jurassic Park in Njogere recently. It was the best thing ever.
That's the thing.
Like the shock of the interpreter just adds to the excitement of the scene.
I remember when I was watching Prison Break, and then ISP used to pause and
do
and the echoes, that's the echoes like, whoa! I'm like,
You'd be like, wow.
That is why it's called Special Friday, because actually it spices up. That is your Friday, so do not miss.
So, Kirabo, Enjogerere over original.
First, I must confess, I'm not a person of movies.
Okay.
Then you can leave it at that.
I'm not a person.
You wouldn't
But
understand.
I've ever watched one movie I found people watching at home, so I started to feel in. And this was the haves and have-nots, but I think it's a series. And Junior perfected the art.
That's my
He would give you that interpretation, he would create that mood, and I was like, oh, these things could be good. But just that for me, if you want me, it's all about if it's a political, then this motocross, I'll sit on TV and
the best part is when they do
but there's all this explanation that the guy goes deeper, you know, like that video, the little I've watched of him, and gives you a picture, even compares what is wrong, and you're like, oh.
Even explaining the character development.
Yeah, the character development.
They even give you the names of the actors, which you never get in this. And again, cinemas, they're like, oh.
I think there's one that I had where they actually even give the characters local names.
Everything.
Yeah,
by the way, like when you used to watch those Chinese movies, Jet Li's and what? Paina Mukabata, Yongui.
Wow. Hey.
Anyway, and you would.
I didn't know this one. We need to come to your movie library.
I tell you, man. And you but those are movies like from 70s, man, where they used to.
It's okay. We just.
Let me talk about movie libraries. At home, I have people that watch movies, but a time reaches when you even look for a place to, I think, discard off. In this lockdown,
but
people
have
watched
movies. Netflix, they just
this one I love, you know, kids want more, so go get a CD, come watch, and you have a heap of them, and you're like, and they don't want you just to throw them away.
I want you to imagine that a movie like Fast and Furious interpreted.
That is why I need the cinema to be open.
In that loud sound of the car. But anyway, today being Friday special edition, we'll also get into a story of a discussion in terms of current affairs away from VJ Junior and Jingo, Salongo. Now we ask Swanotuliwa, Atenachi.
Good morning.
Then you be there, you're saying,
Friday edition. Well, this has been a bit interesting, and I know, of course, you're imagining when you're home, maybe someone is already planning to watch that translated movie. But also this touching story that we're going to be discussing, which is this P7 leaver. After the results returned, 15-year-old that is in Hoima, she sat a PLE that is at a Muslim Bwakicha Muslim primary school in Hoima city, that is the western part of Uganda. So when the results came back, she had scored 25, and according to her, people laughed at her, so she chose to take her life by hanging. She committed suicide. So this is something that really many people may just think about it, but at the end of the day, this could have happened to her. If you don't give it the attention it needs, maybe it will happen to another child. These issues of aggregates, performances have over a time been a challenge in many families. And there's this tendency, oh, we are maker, you know, for us we go to this, we go to that, so tell us. So your results become a thing of the community.
Since Kirabo is laughing at me that I studied at Shimon and my school is not there.
It's there, it's just upgraded.
Kirabo is always laughing at me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, Felix, let me.
You were saying?
So, this issue is something that has been around, that if a family has a candidate, we think the results are for everybody in the extended, in whatever. So if it's a church, and at the end of the day, even media, this is my opinion, sometimes we've escalated this problem. We'll have the best schools, the best candidates, now we've gone to the best teachers, you know, and at the end of the day, that who doesn't perform as expected, they have no privacy to their results. At the end of the day, they are known by everybody, and then they begin getting comments that sometimes may force some kids, if not properly guided, to commit suicide. And I'll begin with Isabella. First and foremost, this way of disclosing results, what's your opinion on that?
I think even before you reach disclosing, it's the system itself. I'm not saying that it is flawed or that it is wrong, but that there should be a flexibility. Different people learn differently. So, for example, now I think being grown up now, there are people that you knew in school that didn't perform as well, but you see where they are in life. And then you see those ones who performed really well, and you see where they are in life. And the fact that even in this day and age, there are people who haven't finished school. Like even when you go international, Mark Zuckerberg, okay, yes, he went to Harvard, but he didn't finish college. He doesn't have a degree, things like that. I think there's so much misconstruction. I think that's our word, misunderstanding of the point of education. Point of education isn't these accolades. So it is good, yes, to appreciate the best performers and the best candidates, but it's not the be-all and end-all. Life still continues with what you get, and personally, I wish I knew that earlier. I also lived that life where grades and academics and everything, if you fail, you're crying, you're depressed, but you know, you even try to remember the marks you got the other time you cried. You're like, I can't even remember, you know, all these years later, but your life was ending. So I think it's for parents, it's for teachers, it's for people that have been their ass, like on platforms like this, to share and tell people that yes, education is important, but there's a way you can always make it through life. There's a different way to learn. It's not just, we don't just learn in class. Yeah, so that's my opinion on it. Just, we need to educate ourselves more about that.
Now let me go to the Shimoni gentleman. And I don't know, but many of the schools by then, if many still also do it, they have a notes board. And when such results are out, they are pinned on the notes board, so you know who scored what, even if you've done P7 and you're leaving, who got how many upgrades, who failed, who made the school maybe not to perform as it should have performed. What is your take on this, Felix?
Well, I must appreciate Isabel's contribution. I think it means a lot in terms of how we have structured society, in terms of success. Yeah, our definition of success is so myopic. And it's very, very saddening that how could you tailor success to how someone performs in class? Because if it was about that, maybe some of us wouldn't be where we are today, or even sitting on shows like this, or working on national broadcasters, or even doing the things we do elsewhere. Yeah. You can imagine the abilities of people and how far they can exceed from academics. Between you and me, it doesn't take someone to know math, for example, to play a guitar like she does, to write a good song like she did, and yet you're choosing to only judge her ability in success or in terms of life on mathematics, for example, and leaving
And I was
out
very
the
bad at
many-
math, by the way.
You see, that's how I knew that like, but
Yeah. Young Tonto, young
Tontomera. Actually, the word is Tontomera.
Tontomera.
Yeah. But anyway, and I think this is a perception we need to work on from every aspect of our society. But it must start majorly with parents. Where would in the world a 15-year-old get the idea of suicide? Honestly and truly. What is it for them to be blamed that they didn't do? Because they can only do so much in terms of even, you can imagine they're in a village, you can imagine village life, the kind of schools they go to, sometimes they don't even go to school. All these things that surround some of these kids. And even I've seen it in urban places. Like Robert talked about churches, but I think schools are the forefronters of this whole thing. I went to a school where we would be divided, basing on our parents, not even that, but first starting from our parents' financial status. Oh yeah, because here's the thing, every after class, evening time, there would be coaching, but you had to pay for it. You get it? Now, that means for some of us who didn't have the ability to pay for the coaching, you would be in the pitch playing. Now, when these kids come out, if they are kind enough to give their books to copy, now that's already a difference. Secondly, there was P6A, B, C, D, E, that kind of thing, where A was for the cream, then the what, then
the school's first grades.
Now, you can imagine a kid entering P6F, and there's one entering P6A.
But just to interrupt you there, the reasoning they give for this classification in terms of grading is because of what she sort of hinted on, how easily a child actually takes in what they're studying. So for them, the assessment was that the first graders pick things very fast.
So they should be taught separately.
So they're taught separately. Then the slow learners are also classified separately, so that the teachers then can take it.
Let me just
that
say
was,
this, Priscilla.
teachers.
The thought.
That was the thought.
Now, I was also privileged to have had a bit of homeschooling, and there's a big difference. Now, socializing is one of the best principles or practices of schools. The reason why it is important, because many people can teach their kids from homes, but do you know why they send them to school? It's a discipline as important as math, as important as SST or science or whatever. People must socialize. Now, what's the use of saying, okay, if you want to teach the Priscillas in A, and then the same, are you going to hire different teachers to teach?
No, of course they play it in the timetable.
Now,
but then the teachers are also trained
do you
to
know
think
that psychologically alone fails the people?
Yeah, but you're right, because then I remember that when those classifications were there, it depended on how you performed at the end of the year, that you would then be switched to another stream.
It doesn't matter how it performed first term and second term.
They compile it and say, okay, this one is worthy to be moved to P6A. Promoted to P6A from P6B.
Felix and Priscilla and Isabella, I want us also to look at something that I think we've let be, but it's one of the results of that story we are discussing today. That is marginalization of education, where grades are a determinant of quality of education. That is why you see that now schools, even when they're advertising, P7, 90% of the candidates passed. And they would even display results in an advert. We had what we call traditional schools. I had never seen, yes, they were performing very well, but never it wouldn't be about grades. To that person, that's why we are seeing people reading exams, so they have good grades.
But I think what you're saying about traditional schools is also not true. Because between you and me, you know that schools like maybe Bulldog guys, I would only want, for example, P7, only people with 4s. And for them, that's their standard. That's why, and that's how it's like sort of like institutional culture. That's their tradition. Now, that alone is not different from what we are saying. That just let me just say this lastly, that I think, in my opinion, about this story, when I saw it and I was so sad, what could only come to my mind was that we need to appreciate human beings from specific angles of life. I can be a bad footballer, but I can be a good runner. I can be a good runner, but I don't have to be a good student in terms of what. And that's where we have failed in appreciating human beings wholesomely. You have how many stories in Kampala of the richest people, if you want to define success by wealth, who have not gone to school. I'm not saying school is not good. We have all went to school when we had to go to school. But you'll be surprised if like she said, where does find Q, Q, Y, Z, P help her do? Where are you finding the Q in everything you're doing every day, Robert, for example? So I think if maybe we need to know, to rediscover the potential in people and not try to force them into different potentials. That's what I think.
Priscilla. For me, I think the system in education-wise does not allow room for what Felix is saying, and that's where it needs to start from. Because no matter how much a parent may guard their children, but then the child has to spend this much time and years in that school system, it still, it will be a conflict of what my parent says it's okay, but at school
those are the most common fights nowadays with these millennial kids.
Yes, so it's a conflict.
Mom said it's okay if I don't do homework.
Exactly. And now when you look at and I'm going to ask Isabel because she mentioned something that triggered me. When you look at the foreign world or the Western world, they have readjusted their system to actually individualize education. That if I find that Felix is a loud mouth, he's very good at arguing, putting his points across, I then, through, the things that we're studying, I will emphasize him to study English, and because I know those are going to help him to become, don't you talk a lot? Okay. No, before I finish, let me finish. Yeah, so that when we do that, we will help people, because at the end of the day we're not the same and we will never be the same, but each one of us has something in us that we're good at. Now imagine if it's realized at an early age. I keep looking at the World Guinness Book, and the youngest kids, a kid 5 years of age, and they are playing piano that is on the level of mastery, but simply because their parents acknowledge that, okay, his kid is always around the piano, then they got them trained. Even the school-wise, they give them room in consideration of those things. And maybe where it would have come out here in the Ugandan education system is the clubs. In school, you had MDD club, debate club, math club, the other club, interact club, and those are the areas where you would find people's, real being coming out and flourishing. And then, in a way, in turn, they would then flourish also in academics. That would be.
Finally, Isabella.
I think just touching on what she said, I'm realizing with the examples. For example, I watched a brief documentary about the education system, and America, of course, is trying to have better performances from their citizens, but they always come in third or fourth to countries like Sweden and Finland. And what they noticed is, for them, school is from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Like, most of that time is spent home, most of the time is spent playing, no homework also. And when they talk to their ministries and their teachers, their way of thinking was that the point of school, the point of education, is to equip you for life. So let's fast forward. This 2-year-old is going to be a grown man in society. What do we have in society today? We have people who are unique, given their individual gifts. You can start seeing it in a child. If she's playing piano, apply to Juliet, study music your whole life. If football, we have Saka, who's 19. How long has he been playing football? So we have all these things, but I think it begins with realizing the role of education. It's not to go with, hi, I have fancy marks.
Good, great. Well, for me, I'll give an example. This is back home. When we were in school, people who would get poor grades would go to technical institutions. I'm not saying everybody who is there is because of that. But I want to tell you, life has taught me, people I went to school with, maybe they stopped in senior 4, they went to Kaba Sanda, they went to this agriculture. Today, they're doing great. More than those that had the distinctions and maybe chose to continue. These guys, senior 4, they did certificates, they did diplomas, they're now engineers constructing buildings, they're doing so well.
That's true.
But actually the determinant factor by then would be, if not gotten, points that can take you to a level. So it's not all about the good grades. There's still hope after these grades do not come out that way. Tech institutions, tech education has proved that in our country.
Yeah. Well, of course, much has been said about education, so the message here, I hope, is loud and clear to the people in education. And maybe just lastly, before we let Isabel also be preparing for our next performance, what was your best subject in primary?
In primary?
I can guess SST.
It was actually science. I wanted to be a doctor.
You wanted to be what? Treating what?
I was so fascinated by how the body works and like learning digestion. But then when you get to high school, you need math and chemistry, which I sucked at.
So what was your best? Science? And then in secondary?
In secondary, I actually did music, so that was my best. But I still enjoyed biology.
So what combination did you do at HSC?
At HSC, I did...
I'm trying to see where the music comes in from.
I did hell music. I did history, economics, literature, and structure.
Hell music.
Like
I just even love
hell music.
Hell, I'm doing music.
And here you are doing music. Thank God at least you're able to do something you're passionate about. She never wanted to be... I don't know, but
he will be
a pastor.
No.
Oh, I like that. What you?
That one
fast. Clearly, she doesn't want to be a pastor.
No, because that's why you go wrong. Being a pastor is a calling.
But even being a musician,
you don't just self-impose yourself. Today, everyone.
Chidaba has never said no the way you are saying no today, and I believe
because
Chidaba
actually I know
want to be
I'm
a
a pastor's son, and I really know why we've blundered. That a person would wake up, then on the
what is okay?
So they forget.
Let me take a couple of reactions from the story that we have just talked about on Twitter. We had Odiomu James is saying, what's poor performance? When my kid performs badly, what do I need to do as a parent? Under normal circumstances, I will never criticize my child for poor performance in exams. We parents are guardian angels to our kids, and they must be close friends to us, but not competition. We do have Rita Kase, who said, so sad, may Daffin's soul rest in peace. In her reaction, it's not a secret anymore that young people are struggling with mental issues, which have been on an increase over the years, ought to be attended to ASAP by parents, school leaders, teachers, and fellow Ugandan citizens indeed. We have Mayengo, who said, I wish I had not read that letter. I'm so puzzled. At 13, she was still young. Somebody ought to have advised her to repeat and give some words of encouragement and hope. As for the Madame Jessica, the police should arrest her immediately for further investigation, because maybe there's some other students that are also facing that.
She had this letter, the lady is talking about, the lady, she had this notification.
She left the letter.
And she kept it until the incident occurred. Yes, she would have informed the authority that this young girl is planning to commit suicide.
So the other thing, that last reaction here, at one point in life, I got this thought to kill myself, but then I thought about the many friends at school who cared, and compared to home where it would be only insults. Thanks to my consciousness, I managed to overcome the suicidal thoughts. I miss my friends though, though those who tormented me are still here. Wow.
Well, of course, much of that happens in our societies, and also something that is coupled with that kind of behavior is bullying. If you've seen the effects in South Africa, where there's a girl who killed herself for a couple of, I think, weeks or something. We've had lots of stories from the US, bullying. I remember that song of Kelly when she did, I don't know if you know that song, talking about bullying, something like that. It was so touching. The statistics were so high, what happens in the world and how people lose their lives. But we do send the message out there to all of you people, the parents, the teachers, and everyone in communities. Sometimes our expectations may not be matched up by people, but people have their own purpose. Because even for us who believe in God, we know that whatever was destined definitely must have been purposed. And it's just a matter of time when we all find ourselves and find our balance in life. Finding balance, let me find balance with Priscilla in the papers. Clearly, I'm holding the Daily Monitor. Quite saddening. And Kirabo, the good thing the cameras are not on Kirabo. You would want to see his reaction when I read out this. That MP's cars cash could buy 7.5 million vaccines for Ugandans.
First
Yeah.
repeat that.
First repeat that. You're going to make Kirabo talk.
No.
I didn't want Kirabo to be a
Okay.
scam.
All right. Wow.
Yeah, such a pain, but of course the Daily Monitor brings it out and they say that what are our priorities? News that government had wired 200 million to each of the members of, at least more than 552 members of parliament amid COVID-19 pandemic on the day it begged the public to contribute for the vaccines, and oxygen cylinders had kicked up an uproar over the misplaced priorities, something we did discuss yesterday in depth. And clearly they will be spending 108 billion on the cars, yet we only have 41 billion to spend on vaccination. Wow. Well, 6 days remaining until we unlock or they lock us tighter amid this whatever is happening. But also the school pullout, we see 20 years of Jose Chameleon, Mamma Mia, where the journey started, and strangers scare COVID drug makers. But also COVID, government recruits 766 health workers, and a couple of opportunities, jobs are here for you guys to look out to. But also in beating COVID, how a 12-year-old battled with the virus.
All right, for the New Vision, we get to look at Friday's front page, starting from the top. State House, Museveni rejects loans. We also do have undercover series coming through from New Vision. Journalist sold as Rwandan bride. That's a shocking story. History says Kabaka Mtevi coronation. They bring you a full page there. You have Senior 1 and Senior 6 work in the New Vision for you. That is English, chemistry, economics, and also physics. Now we get to look at the big headline on the front page. Minister speaks out on schools opening, directs institutions on Senior 1 admission process. Wow. In the pictorial, we do see new Chinese envoy rooting for stronger ties, and also Nope bags 500 million from legislators. Limbless girl wants to be a lawyer.
Well, of course, inside the papers, we'll be looking at now from the archives, Joseph, that is Kamswari Chilongei, a traffic officer, directs motorists in Kampala. That is in 1986. He died on January 2018 in a motor car accident in Sironko district at the rank of Assistant Inspector of Police there. Now also, Robin and Nabanja did come out to reject assorted items of relief, and government begs for cash to buy COVID-19. Now Parliament approves 10 years development plan. That was in 1947. And in history today, military seized power in Egypt.
When we get to look at inside of the New Vision, you get to have the statistics there for Uganda tracking. New confirmed cases 193. You have new deaths 58, and that brings us to a total of 2,483. Will vaccine introduce microchips into your body? Facts and myth. You want to check out if it's a fact or a myth. We get to look at back in history, Akibua winning gold at Olympics. That was in 1972. Now a member of parliament, Fiona Nyamutoro, National Female Youth MP.
Well, of course, now we do turn over to sports, where we'll be looking at Captain Boji gets by to round of 16. And Aboji Namutebi to carry flag, shadows of opening ceremony. Now, basketball haunted. U.S. men's basketball star Kevin Durant knows very well that Team USA have a target on their back. But also, former champ Mexico root poor France, and NASA, a lone warrior in Tanzania, seeking new luck. Now, win or bust for blank Cobbs there, but also ultimate freebies players given relief amid endless wait.
All right, in the New Vision for sports, we get to look at its showtime, Tokyo 2020. And in the deep of it, looking at the Tokyo 2020 Tokyo Olympics by the numbers. We look at a very interesting story here. Karim Luega's dilemma, to amputate or not to amputate, but he wants to compete in the Paralympics, and that is for people who have disabilities. Lady Cranes have come of age. You get to look at Uganda Premier League story, Bossa's path, and that is Waswa Bossa, coach for Express FC. Waiche Sang missed Tokyo, and then you also have a story about basketball. Milwaukee Bucks grab first NBA title in 50 years.
Well, of course, basically that's what's in the papers, and we will now have to take a break. And of course, when we come back, we'll be listening to the good vibes of Isabel UG. I can't wait to hear what she's going to be giving us. Let's take a break. When we come back, expect more and more of what we normally give.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Ekya COVID-19 kijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by.
Their job is to keep you and me healthy and well. But sometimes they try in vain.
Was brought to you by.
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
Wait, Abu. And what are you doing throwing papers all over the place?
I'm looking for an invoice for a sound system and cables that I received yesterday, but I can't find it.
You know there is a way of keeping all this in one place and available to you as and when you need it.
I really wish there was one, because the way these invoices grow legs and disappear.
I believe this is what you're looking for.
Now how did it get there?
Tabo! Do you know that with EFRIS, you can stay on track of all your business transactions and improve on your record keeping?
How so?
Katituli ku computer with EFRIS. I just search using the fiscal document number and I retrieve the records I'm looking for. Bookkeeping becomes simple after that.
Kapo, awesome, yeah.
I began using URS Kakasa Solutions and now I'm in charge of my business, and you can as well.
Kakasa, be sure you are in charge of your business.
Uganda Revenue Authority. Developing Uganda together. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Hi everyone, Isabel UG here again. Here's a song called Beat Again of my very, very first project, an EP called Chaotic Heart in 2016. If I can feel my heart beat at all, how am I still breathing? if I tried to sing a song on my own, I'd be mixing up the words. That's why I need you to keep my heart from me. I need you to be its melody. I need you to be my remedy. Help it beat again, beat, beat again, beat, beat again, beat, beat again, beat, beat again. And if my blood curdles still in my veins, how am I to feel it? Nothing to freely flow in my soul. I am almost letting go. That's why I need you to keep my heart from me. I need you to be my melody. I need you to be my remedy. Help it beat again, beat, beat again, beat, beat again, beat, beat again, beat, beat again. Oh, oh, oh. Won't you help my heart beat, beat again? Won't you help my heart beat, beat again? Won't you help my heart beat, beat again? Oh, oh, oh. Won't you help my heart beat, beat again? It's cold and it's dying. I'm wondering if you all made it, can take it and keep it safe from me. Keep it safe from me. Keep it safe for me. Keep it safe for me. And beat again. Oh, beat again. Won't you help my heart beat, beat again? 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 This is a song, the first song of my debut album. It's called Minute. Somewhere is Gamji. Huh. It's lasted a minute, it could have been more. It's lasted some seconds, guess now we'll never know. Cause you deemed us unworthy, you damned us to dust. You decided to end this before our time had come. Pain substituted all we had shared. Your silence convoluted like you didn't care. The fact undisputed is I am ensnared. My heart's so persecuted, I'm going insane. Cause it's lasted a minute, it could have been more. It's lasted a minute, it could have been more. I don't know how I feel, I am so unsure. I'm moved by emotions, but I feel nothing at all. We need a solution, we need a time
worked out your urgencies quite so remarkably. We went to outer space and you left without a trace. So from orbit I'll extricate, and earthbound I'll back and break. It's lasted a minute. It could have been more. It's lasted. Guess now we'll never know, 'cause it's lasted a minute. It could have been more. It's lasted. Guess now we'll never know. We'll never know. Thank you.
Performance after performance, it is Special Friday, and all we do is spice up your Friday morning, because we know it is one thing that opens up the weekend. However, we are in a lockdown, and we give you a feel of what you're missing to have it at the comfort of your sitting room, your bedroom, wherever you are. So Special Friday is something you should never miss. Every Friday, very informative, very entertaining, full of jokes, all in ensuring that we reduce your stress levels that the lockdown could have brought. And one of the segments is we have our weekly news review. Now we look at stories that have made headlines and, of course, that have really caught many people's attention. Now today we are going to be discussing a couple of stories. This has been, I think, a fertile week in terms of news. There's so much that has happened. We'll look at the 200 million per member of parliament, a bit of PLE because it was released last Friday after we had had our weekly news roundup. But we'll also look at the Prime Minister. Yes, I said we've long waited for such an iron hand in the ministry, at the office of the Prime Minister. Well, she rejected relief items and said Kasese is not a dumping ground. But I don't do this alone. I have my colleagues, Ivan Kahwa. I call him the foot soldier. Zora is there watching and telling the story. Then Rachel Takali, who says, let me dissect this for the public or not for public consumption. You're most welcome to the show, Ivan.
Thank you so much, Kirabo. Good morning, and good morning to the dear viewer.
What were your highs of this week?
My highs, the 200 million shillings for the MPs.
Will you benefit?
In against.
I won't rule out on that. But it's my high because it's something that has been happening over the years, and it's creating a lot of contention. Not to the voters per se, because I've not had anyone in my constituency where I come from complaining about that, but all they need is service delivery. So when these come into play, when the country is in this catastrophe of the COVID-19 and etc., it's the right of the voters as well to raise their voice against or with what is happening in the country. My law is this girl from Uganda who committed suicide. It's really absurd. It's really something that I think we have to work upon. And then the other law, this gentleman who went for weightlifting in Japan, disappearing, and then after resurfacing. But then the saddest bit is government maintaining the status quo for the ministers to still travel with the person has already resurfaced. To me, that is another law.
Rachel, your highs and lows of the week?
I think highs would be the very quick response of Madame Nabanja to the unscrupulous actions of people within her very docket. They have put her to shame. We had expected that these people would have some decency and actually leave the people's supplies alone. The people in that office have been responsible for misery since the days of Mr. Mbabazi, the days of Mr. Rugunda, and they're continuing with their wicked conduct. So we're hoping that something will come of her quick response. But then, of course, for me, the law is Mr. Kawa's high. It's immoral. It's immoral that our MPs don't have it within themselves to actually deny themselves of a so-called entitlement. Even an entitlement can be in bad taste, depending on the environment we're in. If this money was applied to their constituents in direct relation to COVID supply, whether you're talking about giving people gear that is very badly needed, whether you're talking about giving them posho, whether you're talking about beefing up security, 200 million in a constituency could go some distance. My low point, definitely.
Well, I share Rachel's highs and lows. My high, I must be honest, is the Honorable Prime Minister. For long a time, relief aid has been a problem where we've been having poor quality things being given to people, and I would term that as stealing from the poor. When she said this must end, the nets, the see-through blankets, see-through blankets. For me, this was a time I almost jumped and wanted to hug the screen. Said, thank you, Nabanja. My loss still comes to members of parliament. I was trying to quantify this. If they had used this money, Ivan, say to buy posho, a kilo at 100 and a kilo at 1,500 of posho, then 347,000 households in Uganda would have gotten posho. If they had used this money, members of parliament, and said, okay, maybe have a common pool in terms of relief, and people were to get 100,000 each, that would mean 52,000 people each would get 100,000. So for me, yes, it is the entitlement, but I'm looking at the timing and the moral aspect of it at such a time, given that these are people's leaders and people's representatives at the same time. These are very poor people at such a time, and then you can't deny yourself. If a father says, I've been invited for a wedding, I must have a brand new suit, and then you miss 3 meals.
Especially the ones who've been there 4 times. Why are you taking money for cars for the 4th time?
Really? Are you aware that some people got Nabanja's money twice, and some accounts have been blocked?
It's also immoral.
So as we're looking into it, there is always a good side and the bad
then the
side.
ones who inflated the numbers of refugees, of the internal displaced, that's also immoral.
Yes, it's really immoral.
So let's begin by looking at the moral aspects that we've talked about that dominated this week. Nabanja in Kasese. We've also looked at the element of members of parliament. Let's combine the two in the interest of time.
For the case of Nabanja, I would entirely agree. And for the time I've seen her deliberate in parliament, I've actually realized that many members of parliament are trying to expose her because they are not comfortable with the kind of person that was installed as a prime minister. Even when you look at them debating, they're trying to question the integrity of the prime minister. And to me, this is what I've identified. They are challenging the person who has brought a report on the table, but still they keep on asking pertinent questions to try to get the prime minister make a mistake. And to me, I feel this is a little bit wrong, but this is the time we should see a parliament that even when they give you someone who is new, you're able to support that person to to promote and improve quality service delivery. So to me, I think this kind of notion that MPs are not comfortable, even someone who can't say anything, they feel Nabanja is a soft land, for which I don't agree. But the vigor and the zeal and the courage that she has emulated for the few days she has been in office, it's something to rejoice across the country. There might be a lot of problems, but I think she's on the right course as of now. Then the issue of the cars. You see, I am one person who thinks that the members of parliament are voted by Ugandans in that aspect. And it's not the first time that these MPs are getting cars. So the notion and the argument that we are in a crisis, the lockdown, I agree entirely. We are in the lockdown. It's very true. But first, before we look at COVID-19 that is directly related to the Ministry of Health that is in charge of that and security, first look at the disbursement of the money that was given to the Ministry of Health. They were given about approximately 600 billion for securing vaccines and etc. When you look at the breakdown, 50 billion was given to security to enforce SOPs. This is the Ministry of Health. But security entirely got about 6 trillion on the budget. So why do you have to get the money in the Ministry of Health to finance security to implement SOPs? I think before even we look at Parliament, the 200 billion, we should first look at the money given to the Ministry of Health to do what it's supposed to do. Is it doing that specific money? There is a problem. So Ugandans tend to forget on whom you have to bring to account before the vehicles. Now, MPs are entitled to cars, it's okay. I agree with Madam Rachel. If you see an MP was spent about 15 years in Parliament, why do you have to buy a car every 5 years? Honorable Margaret Mwanga, the Minister of State for Health in charge of primary health care, was here on UBC behind the headlines and said, I've driven my car for 11 years, I've never gotten a new car. Why is it that other MPs, it's as if it's a do or die to get a vehicle? I would agree with those who have just come in, they have never driven a V8 or whatever, they have never gotten all that lump sum of money on their accounts. It's very hard to convince that MP to forego getting that vehicle because you have a problem of COVID-19. It is something you really have to reconsider. Now, finally, what I look in the entire equation is one, the misappropriation of funds that we are looking at, then trying to always create up a situation. You know, now MPs are getting cars. I wish you had bought vaccines and etc. So if they bought vaccines, otherwise even if you use that money to buy vaccines, you'd only get about 7 million vaccines, which does not reach the threshold the president has been talking about, to reach about 20 million people in order for the population to be
in addition to the pool of what is available,
to get immune. But even remember, the Minister of Health is still stuck with the money supposed to buy vaccines because the vaccines were hoarded by other countries that were supposed to finance us. So we have the money, everything is there, but there are other factors that are influencing the progress of the entire chain of
Maybe Rachel, just a question to you. I've asked myself, what is this money made for, the 200 million? I've never seen money that you don't account for, where expenditures at your discretion, you either buy a car or you don't. At such a time, would then this be important?
I think I'll answer your question in a roundabout way. I really believe that what we are really talking about is the crisis of leadership in this country. Whether you're talking about the bureaucrats, whether you're talking about the politicians, whether you're talking about teachers, whether you're talking about security personnel, there is a total disconnect between the sentiments of the people, the needs of the people, and what those who are leading us think should be. I mean, it is so glaring. It is amazing that these particular individuals have no sense of what is right, what is proper, what is fitting, what is decent. I mean, there's certain things, you don't dance at a funeral. You may be the world champion break dancer or whatever is current these days, but at a funeral is not where you display your strokes. So these particular people are displaying their dance strokes at the funerals of the Ugandans. I mean, what kind of person does not care what the mourners are thinking? What kind of leader is not concerned that the people are falling dead left, right, and center, and you continue to party? This sort of thing exposes the caliber of our leaders. It is a tragedy for Uganda.
For all have sinned and fallen short of God's glory. All we need is His grace at such a time. One sees it as an entitlement regardless of the prevailing situations. And of course, legally, it could be right. Morally, timing is where it's wrong. Another story that caught the eyes of many people this week, Rachel, yes, the PLE results that came out, we've discussed that earlier on, but where we are seeing that continuously aggregates, marks are being something we've overlooked away from quality of education. That day by day we continue to think that's all about the grades, not what have you achieved in school. That's why we are saying rigging all forms so that schools can get proper marks. Ivan, in relation to the little girl Daphne that is in Hoima City who committed suicide.
It's really absurd, and I remember even during my early ages, I've ever gotten this kind of thought. There are two ways: thinking about committing suicide or thinking about harming somebody who is making you uncomfortable in life. And you know, at that time when you're still young, your brain cannot consume a certain magnitude of thoughts. So it's easier to think that the world can end immediately. And if no one tries to guide you through that situation, you may end up dying. But of course, I even read that note that girl wrote. It was really heart-touching. You'd see someone being hurt so much to the extent she had to name the person. I think it's Jessica in that letter, that, you know, you always do this, I hate you so much, you're also gonna die. And the problem comes into now the upbringing. You see, I remember when I was still in school, I had a lot of friends at school. So at the time I got this thought, because every time you would go at home, you have a bad report. You know, this kind of...
And sometimes you're kind thorough when
exactly.
you take the report home, there's some
you would feel hurt, and how would you try to commit suicide? For example, you decide to move on the road and close your eyes. You're like, there are many ways. For the adults, you decide to go and booze, sit in your vehicle and drive at 200 kilometers per hour within town because you want to knock and die. Others, the fear takes off. You're like, fine, let me break curfew rules. If LDU finds me, I'll try to fight with them so that I can die. So there are quite a number of ways, but I think this time around, the parents at home, we should really take charge of our kids other than leaving them for school. Imagine at school you're being beaten because you have failed a question, then you go at home, you're trying to seek clarity because your mom or dad did not go to school. He or she will actually slap you more. That why you're asking me this? I thought you go to school to study. So all these things are really dangerous, and I think as in terms of home care, it's one thing we should look up onto in case we want to solve this issue of our young kids trying to attempt suicide, and even as well getting to learn such statements. Someone will just come, you know these statements, they are a signal that this girl or boy can actually do something detrimental in his or her life. Or even
unfortunately, Rachel, of late parents are so busy. A father will tell you, what do you
during
want
COVID?
from me? What do you want from me? As long as I pay school fees. Away from COVID, because you know COVID will come. We'll either learn to live with or come to planet. Father will tell you, my role is to provide school fees, food. The mother equally, maybe she's into something else. The parenting gap in this country seems to be broadening day by day.
Just a knowledge gap.
I think not only that, about 2 weeks ago, mental health experts from Makerere University sounded the call and issued a warning actually, that mental health in this country is being strained more than ever before. They said that the crisis that is COVID-19 has placed additional strain on the mental health of the populace. But they also pointed out that young people in particular were at additional risk. This particular incident brings into sharp focus what these people were saying. They said the fact that the network that used to sustain the mental health of the people, family in particular, is not where it used to be, as he pointed out. People are concerned with all sorts of things. So the pointers that should easily be identified in a normal family setting, for example, if someone is more withdrawn than they should be, or they're downcast continually, are not being paid attention to. And that, of course, is another matter. There are all sorts of social reasons for that. But more than that, mental health experts tell us that mental health issues, as opposed to madness, every time you raise mental health, they think madness, are issues that need more funding, more attention than ever before. This particular young girl was disturbed, definitely. And she was pushed over the edge by these. But bullying is not new. Teasing is not new. The foolishness of youngsters in the way they behave one with another is not new. So for someone to be pushed over the edge is obviously a person who had issues, because the teachers say she was a quiet girl. So I think she had been internalizing all sorts of other problems, not voicing.
So this was just a catalyst.
It was the straw that broke the camel's back. But over and above this particular issue, mental health needs to be brought to the fore of our health discussions going forward.
Well, I love the issue of mental health, and like one person said, hope I don't sound abusive, that all human beings are
have varying degrees of madness.
Actually,
the levels differ.
I even read somewhere that when you look at, compare women and men, or boys and girls, boys tend to complete the process of suicide compared to women because they tend to use lethal means. And when you look at the police report of 2020 in terms of accident, men died compared to women simply because when they're on the road, their way of dealing with the space is more aggressive than women. So most probably we need to talk to the boys more when it comes to this specific act.
As we train and push for the girl child, the boy child should also not be left. Well, in the interest of time, Ivan and Rachel, let me have your final remarks regarding how the week has been and what has been making headlines, beginning with Ivan.
Now, the issue of COVID relief, it's one aspect. When we started the process, money was given out amidst when actually lockdown is getting done. And there are some people who are still talking about the 100K, and when you realize...
About 41 billion has been disbursed. That's about 85% of the entire figure.
Yes, but the bad thing is that this money has not really been, it hasn't done anything. It hasn't been effective. In my own area, when you look at the people who are boasting that they have gotten the money, actually people who are not vulnerable. So there was a missing link to identify who is vulnerable and who is not. And I would maintain my status quo wherever I've been speaking up to. I'm like, it would have been better if we had maintained the previous way of giving people food. You know, Kirabo, when you have food in the house, it's not easy for you to go and sell it. But when you have the money, that 100,000 might come on my phone when that day my kid or sibling is sick, and I will channel that money into other things. So it's not guaranteed that when you get that money, it will help you. In a homestead where you have about 10 people and it's one person getting the 100,000, it's not effective. And I think government should look into this. And now that we headed, it's almost ending, about 7 days.
6 days or 7.
6 or 7, and I'm quite sure the president will talk. This is the time that if at all we anticipate another extension of the lockdown, then government should be steadfast in how they are going to deal with the aftermath of the lockdown, because at the time we went back in the this 42 days lockdown, other businesses were still recovering. So we have reached at the point whereby those who are doing businesses now have to shut up. You just have to keep quiet and keep breaking the laws as what we are.
Actually, that explains why for the entire 42 days, every day police is running battles with people downtown Kampala.
Yes.
It has not ceased. Arrests are being made on a daily.
That's very true. And then lastly, maybe my question would be to the Ministry of Health. You see, every time they release results, if you added the cumulative cases, the death and recoveries and etc., you do not get the lump sum of the total COVID-19 cases we're having in the country. I think they also need to work upon the statistics that they are giving to us, because there is a little bit of a mismatch. And when you tell me that today we have tested 1,000 people, where are you getting those people who are under lockdown? Are they going to the health facilities by walking, or are you finding them at home? And I think
good, that is a question to the ministry. Rachel, in just a minute, please.
I can't really leave this place without talking about how Madame Alupo, Madame Anite and her team at UIA have actually redeemed us from the disgrace that has been the focus of investment incentives to only foreign investors. That was the national disgrace, and now they're saying they will rush to the rescue of promising entrepreneurs, and at the forefront is Dr. or Professor Ogwang at this time. So kudos to those people.
The man was given a tax holiday for 10 years, and also 5 acres of land that is in Soroti Industrial Park. Yes, court is there, but we just hope all goes well. Well, I want to thank you so much, people, and I also want to tell you, please ensure you stay alive. COVID is around, but there is always life at the end of the tunnel. Just imagine that address when the president said 42 days. How did you feel? But see how far the Lord has brought you. It is the same God when you perfect the art of soaps. The Baganda have a saying, so as we pray for divine intervention, as we hope for one time our country to go back into normal, either have vaccination or we have the various treatments that day by day our scientists are coming up with discoveries as supportive, and also we shall have a cure to COVID-19. Please stay safe so that you live to tell the tale that one time we had COVID, the world went to its, but we survived. Have a lovely weekend. I'll leave you with another performance from Isabella, and this is Good Morning Uganda Special Friday. We spice up your morning and we ensure we fill the gap of entertainment where we would miss because of the lockdown. Good morning.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
It's Freaky Friday from Airtel. Buy or gift. Buy or give.
Get freaky too! Dial *149*10# to load a Freaky Friday bundle for you to enjoy the best offers on voice and data.
To buy a bundle for friends and family, dial *149*10*5#. Freaky Friday with Airtel. Buy or gift a bundle today. Dial *149*10# to get started. Airtel, the smartphone network.
As the financial year 2020-2021 draws to an end, URA has put measures in place to facilitate taxpayers to file